In the late 13th century, a single empire swallowed the known world, the Mongols. From the Danube River in Europe to the shores of the Pacific, they were an unstoppable war machine. If they marched on your lands, you had two choices: surrender or die. But there was one small island nation that chose a third option: defiance. When Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, sent his emissaries to Japan demanding their absolute submission, the samurai didn't just say no. They cut off the heads of the messengers. This is the story of the ultimate clash of military cultures. A story of desperate defense, suicidal bravery, and a cataclysmic act of nature that changed the course of world history forever. We look at the samurai versus the Mongols, and the divine wind that saved Japan. The year is 1274. Infuriated by the insolence of the Japanese, Kublai Khan assembles an armada. 900 ships, 40,000 men, a terrifying coalition of battle-hardened Mongol cavalry, Chinese engineers, and Korean sailors. They breach the horizon at Hakata Bay on the southern island of Kyushu, and right here on the beaches, two entirely different worlds of warfare collided. The samurai fought by a deeply ritualized code. To them, warfare was a matter of individual honor. A high-ranking samurai would step forward on his horse, loudly announce his name, his prestigious lineage, and challenge a worthy opponent to a glorious one-on-one duel. The Mongols did not care about honor, they cared about winning. As the samurai stepped forward to chant their names, they were met with a wall of noise and fire. The Mongols deployed tetsuhao, primitive but terrifying gunpowder bombs that exploded in midair, deafening the samurai horses and shattering their lines. The Mongols fought as a tightly synchronized mass. They stayed behind a wall of shields, raining down thousands of poison-tipped arrows. The traditional samurai tactics were useless. They were completely overwhelmed, taking horrific casualties and forced to retreat inland. It looked like Japan was done for on day one, but as night fell, the weather turned. Fearing that a massive storm would strand them on enemy territory, the Mongol commanders ordered a hasty retreat back to their ships. It was a fatal mistake. A severe autumn storm smashed into Hakata Bay, wrecking a third of the Mongol fleet and drowning thousands. The survivors limped back to the mainland. Round one went to Japan, but everyone knew the Khan would return. The Japanese knew they had been incredibly lucky. The shogunate didn't waste a single moment. For the next 7 years, they fundamentally reshaped how they fought. First, they built a defensive marvel, the Great Wall of Hakata. It was a massive stone barrier, over 2 meters high and stretching for 20 kilometers along the coast. This wall ensured that when the Mongols returned, their deadly cavalry wouldn't have an open beach to charge on. Second, the samurai abandoned their ancient rules of engagement. No more shouting names, no more single combat. They trained to fight in tight, coordinated formations. They were preparing for total war. And they were just in time, because in 1281, Kublai Khan launched his ultimate vengeance. This wasn't just an invasion, it was an execution. Kublai Khan sent 2 separate fleets, the Eastern Army from Korea and the Southern Army from China. Combined, the armada totaled 4,400 ships and 140,000 soldiers. To put that into perspective, this was the largest amphibious invasion force in human history up to that point. A scale of naval warfare that would not be seen again until D-Day in World War II, nearly 7 centuries later. When the massive armada anchored off the coast of Japan in the summer of 1281, the stage was set for a slaughter. But this time the Mongols hit a wall, literally. For weeks the Mongols tried to breach the Hakata stone wall, and for weeks the samurai held the line with desperate, ferocious bravery. Because the Mongol ships were so large, the samurai used small, agile rowboats to launch terrifying guerrilla night raids. Under the cover of darkness, small bands of samurai would row out to the massive warships, scale the hulls, behead the officers, set the ships on fire, and vanish before the enemy could react. But despite these heroic efforts, numbers don't lie. Samurai were heavily outnumbered, running out of supplies and exhausted. Step by bloody step, the Japanese defenses were beginning to fracture. With their backs to the sea, the emperor and religious leaders fell to their knees across the nation, praying fervently to the kami, the spirits and gods of Japan, for a miracle. And on August 15, 1281, the heavens answered. A monstrous typhoon, what we would call a Category 4 or 5 hurricane today, swept directly into the Tsushima Strait. The Mongol fleet was trapped. Because they had tied their ships together to defend against samurai night raids, the vessels became weapons against each other. The howling winds ripped sails to shreds. Massive towering waves lifted these giant warships and smashed them into one another, grinding them into splintered kindling. Ships were hurled against the rocky cliffs of the Japanese coast. Thousands of soldiers, weighed down by heavy armor, sank to the bottom of the ocean. According to historical chronicles, the destruction was so absolute that a man could literally walk across the water on the floating fragments of wrecked ships and dead bodies. Up to 80% of the Mongol army died that night. The Grand Armada of Kublai Khan was utterly annihilated. The Mongols retreated, and the empire never dared to look toward Japan again. The Japanese people looked out at the ruined fleet and believed they were uniquely protected by the gods. They named the storm the Kamikaze, meaning the divine wind. This single event changed the destiny of Japan. It birthed a powerful myth of invincibility, a belief that Japan was holy and could never lose a war. Tragically, this myth would have a dark echo centuries later. In the closing months of World War II, a desperate Japanese military would revive the name Kamikaze, attaching it to suicide pilots, hoping that another divine wind would save them from an Allied invasion. But history is full of ironies. The victory against the Mongols actually bankrupted the Japanese government at the time. Because the victory was caused by a storm, there was no conquered land or wealth to distribute to the samurai who had bled on the walls. This led to massive civil unrest and the eventual collapse of the shogunate. The divine wind saved Japan from foreign conquest, but it sowed the seeds of its own internal ruin. It stands as one of history's greatest turning points, where human grit, strategic preparation, and a colossal stroke of meteorological luck altered the map of the world forever.